Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a flip through inside the Sterling Ink A5 Common Planner, which is my catch-all planner, and what I did in it for the month of November. Beside it is the Wonderland 222, also A5. This will be my catch-all planner for 2026. Currently for this year, I am using this one as my writer's notebook journal. But I decided to go with this one because I like the layout a little bit better as my catch-all. I want to try to downsize the amount of planners that I'm using because I have started to feel overwhelmed with the amount of planners that I have and am using. But anyways, so I took the Hobonichi cover off of this. So let me show you what I had it in. So I originally had it in here, but I took it out so that you can see how thick it looks now. This is 11 months worth of documenting. And then back here, you can see that clump. There's more than 25, 31 pages back here. So I don't think I'm going to finish using it up, and that's okay. This book is, again, my catch-all, and it reflects what's been going on for me and my husband in 2025. So this is what it looks like. And generally speaking, this is, even though this is a Wonderland 222, and this is the Sterling Ink, they're generally the same thickness when you start off at the beginning of the year. So you can see how much it's grown. Now, if you decide that you want a chunky planner, putting in photos, any ephemera that you find, receipts, tickets, cards, that will thicken up your pages. Now, up here in the front, you can see how it's really not too thick. Now, this is where I just did washi tape and stickers. So now let me show you the monthly layout and how I use that. I like to keep track of the weather here. And the month of November, I generally write down at night, probably about 5 or 6. I like to take a look at what the temperature was like for the day, as well as the humidity. So this is a pretty accurate representation of what the weather was like for the month of November. Now we will go to the weekly layout. Okay, and we start here. So this is the last week of October. And then the first 2 days of November. Down here, I was keeping track of the garden and my houseplants. Packages are over here. And in the catch-all planner, I'm not shy about using up my washi tape or my stickers. Here we were having a pretty stressful week. Our cars were down, my husband and I, and it was just something I didn't really want to deal with. On Saturday night, I started to experience some vertigo, and the weekend is generally when I will fill this out from the information that I have in my Wonderland 222, which is my writer's notebook. So let me just show you a week in here. So for example, this is in my Wonderland 222. This is the planner that I keep beside me, and this is what I fill in either the night before or the morning of the things that I want to get accomplished for that day. And then during the weekend, I would have this laid out, and then I would fill this in with stickers and stuff. Because of the vertical, I was not interested in doing that. So I'm leaving this blank because I know exactly why I did not fill it up. And then here we are for almost the last week. Same thing here, just not interested in filling it out, and I'm not going to. But here's the rest of the tasks that I had done with some stickers. And then this is for the first week of December, which is currently where we are. Today is Thursday, and this is what this week looks like. Now the Sterling Ink that I happen to pick, the Common Planner, the daily pages in the back are undated. So what that means is you basically have blank pages, and then you would put down your own update of whatever you want to document. Because a lot was going on with my husband and myself with our cars, his health, just kind of stressful times, I thought I didn't have that many photos to share for November. I started going through my photo stash in my phone, and I actually discovered that I had quite a bit of photos that I just went ahead and printed out, and I'll show you what I did. So instead of doing it like this where I would highlight the day, put down my photos, this happened to be a magazine clipping. Right, so just to give you a couple of ideas of how I did it. And you can see they're not consecutive days. So this is October 23. Then the next time I had something to say or had photos of was October 30th. And then this was the 31st of myself and my husband. We were actually at the hospital at one of his appointments. So now this is a quote that I found on Facebook from the Fellowship of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, of all that is gold does not glitter. I wrote down that little 2-paragraph. So this is how I decided to lay out the pages for the month of November. Other than, I think, Thanksgiving, I did not put down the date or the day to mark which photos went to what. It's literally a photo vomit on the pages with a lot of stickers. These are some apples from my neighbor's tree that hung over the wall that he let us have, and then he wanted us to trim the tree backs because he was mindful that the branches from his tree were hanging over. This is my mom, my sister and her cat, which I covered up. This is a Thanksgiving cactus. This is the pine cone that I picked up during one of our walks with my husband around the block. And they said that if the pine cone is wet or it feels a lot of humidity, it would close up like it is right here. So hopefully that's a decent photo. And then over here, when it's dry and humid, or dry, when the weather's dry, he will open up. Actually, this is a female pine cone. She will open up. And I actually have her sitting on my table because I actually like looking at her. But that's what she looks like. And that's one of her seeds. If you've never seen a pine cone seed before, it looks like that. And then this little flap right here is when it falls out of the pine cone. This helps it kind of fly in the breeze so that it can, let me move that over there, so that it can travel some distance to try to land and sprout and grow. So that's what these two are. I found a photo of my best friend. She passed away a couple of years ago with her brother. My mom with my nieces are under there. Another photo of my mom. There's Kit Kat. He discovered that window in the kitchen nook. If he sits there, he will see me. So here are two photos of him. This is a paw of my sister's cat. I don't know if you can see it. It stuck it out. It was sleeping under the blanket, and she said the cat stuck his paw out and his toes were exposed, which I thought was pretty funny. That's my niece's corgi. There's Kit Kat right there. He was scratching on my husband's car tires, which I thought was funny. Here are my elbows. I had them outside, Monstera elbows. I had them outside, but I brought them in because the nighttime temperatures here have started to drop down into the low 50s, high 40s, and I was worried that it would be too cold for them. So I brought them in, put them in the bathtub, gave them a wash, and then I put them in my kitchen nook area. But then eventually, because this was starting to really, it was making me feel really confined, that I split the plants up and I moved half of them back into my plant room. A few of them I left here, and then I just kind of try to scatter them around the house. But this is what they look like after they came in. This is a flower of, I think it's called the rickrack cacti, that it finally bloomed. My nephew is in Hawaii working. So meanwhile in Hawaii, The washi tape is from Coffee Monster Co. I covered them up. So this was sunrise photos of some pictures that he took. One of his co-workers took him sightseeing, so I thought that was really nice, and he took really nice photos. I've never been to Hawaii, so I thought it was fun to print the photos and have them in here so I could vicariously enjoy the island thanks to him. These are washi stickers that I purchased from Amazon, and then that was something that I purchased, I think, from Daiso, sticker flakes. More photos of Hawaii. Then when they were done with their sightseeing, my nephew treated his coworker out to a lunch. So this is what he ate. I think he said this was ramen and deep fried chicken. I can't think of the Japanese word for it, but that's what this is. And then for his birthday, they took him out. So that is what this is my nephew with his coworkers. And then they went out to eat for pizza. Now this is the only one, I think, where I did Thanksgiving. Yep. So Thanksgiving Day was Thursday, November 27. This is what my nephew ate in Hawaii. This is a picture of me, my husband, and Kit Kat. That was our turkey after it was done. We cooked it inside a bag. That was the tag that was off the turkey. Here he is, my husband, cutting it. So this is what it looked like after we plated up our meal. Now between these two pages are pictures from my family. We did not all get together for Thanksgiving, so instead we just exchanged photos. And then here is Kit Kat asleep on my husband after Thanksgiving. And then during Thanksgiving, during the day, I found our Christmas lights, and we decided to go ahead and put the Christmas lights up outside. And then here's a really pretty sunset, but then the light is on our house. And then this is for December. And as you can see, let me lift this up again. So you can see how much more I have to go. I don't think I'm going to fill it up, but that's okay. So that's a look of my Sterling Ink Common Planner, which is my catch-all planner. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you'd like to see after the pin videos of my planners. In the upcoming weeks before the year is out, I will be sharing how I plan on using some of the planners that I purchased. But that's it. I hope you guys have a great Friday, and I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.